What's happening, guys? It's KingIntensity here, and welcome to Beast Setup. In this video, I'm going to be featuring the MX4, and tons of you guys have been requesting this weapon. Normally, I usually don't do the PDWs, but in this video, I decided to do the MX4 since some of you guys have been requesting this, and it's actually a really good setup, especially for close quarters combat. So I'm just going to run down the stats real quick. Damage is 30, accuracy is 30, hipfire is 90, range is 8, stability is 50 with a rate of fire of 830, and a magazine size of 30. So you can obviously see that this is definitely a close quarter setup, especially with the hipfire accuracy and the rate of fire, and that is relative to all the attachments, which I will go over in just a second. So for the optic, I'm using the Coyote RDS, and this is pretty much the sight I have in most of my setups because I think it's just kind of the best sight to use since it's really plain, really simple, and you'll see this in a lot of my setups, so I prefer to use this one, but you can always use a different one if you feel more comfortable with a different sight. For the accessory, I'm using a laser sight, and pretty much anytime you're using a PDW of any kind, you always want to use a laser sight because it has that added hipfire accuracy bonus that you're going to need, and so it's always useful to have, especially even if you're using an assault rifle or really any type of weapon that you can possibly hipfire with. It's always nice to have that added hipfire bonus, so remember just to keep that on your PDW if you want to have that same bonus. Now for the barrel, I'm using the R2 suppressor, and I believe this is the very first one unlocked, but I really like using the silencer for this weapon because it's really nice to get a lot of kills in close quarters and have absolutely no one know where you are on the map. So it's really nice having that ability when you have the suppressor, and I kind of feel like with the high rate of fire and the kind of inaccuracy that the PDWs have, really using muzzle brake or compensator is not going to make much of a difference, so you might as well be using a suppressor. So for this build, I'm using a suppressor, and it actually works out pretty nice. For the underbarrel, I'm using an ergo grip, which is pretty much the best grip for running around and gunning. So, and as you can see in the actual description, it says reducing the penalty added for shooting on the move by 50%. So that's always good to use, especially when you're going to be running around the map with a PDW, and pretty much you're going to be engaging people from close to mid-range. So don't really expect to be shooting people from long distances. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 clips where I actually pulled it off, but that's when I was like firing like single rounds. So definitely this is a really good close quarter setup, but don't expect to get any kills from long ranges. So for my sidearm, I'm using the M9, and I believe this is actually one of the best sidearms to hip fire with. As you can see on the screen here, the hip fire is 93, so it's actually really good. Has a decent magazine size, so this is probably my favorite pistol to use in a lot of my setups. And for the M9, I'm using the Ghost Ring, and the Ghost Ring's pretty much the upgraded version of the iron sights. It's kind of like the cross between the laser dot sight because it has a red ring and kind of the red dot in the middle, and I really just like this sight a lot, so go ahead and use that if you would like to. And for the accessory, I'm using a laser sight, and kind of like I said earlier with the PDW, you can use this, and it's really good for that hipfire accuracy, so make sure you have that on there. And for the barrel, I'm using the QSW suppressor, and I believe that's the very first one you unlock, so it shouldn't be too hard. And so remember though, the bolt velocity and the bolt drop is increased, so you want to be aware of that if you're trying to engage targets from longer distances, which you can actually do with this gun pretty good. I'm actually surprised at the ranges it can pull off, but suppressor is always good to have, especially when you get in situations where you might walk up behind a guy, don't want to give off your position, and maybe your primary might not have a suppressor, so it's always good to have for that. Gadget 1, always using the RPG. I just use the RPG anytime I'm the engineer. It's pretty much the opposite of duct tape since it just destroys everything, breaks everything apart, and so RPG is just useful for everything, taking out choppers, taking down walls, blowing up people, just all around useful. Second gadget, repair tool. It's pretty much just good for conquest, rush, anytime you need to fix vehicles. You can rack up tons of points, especially if you're in a good squad of people and you're just using vehicles all the time. Really good to have this, and also really good if you're in the air with a pilot. You can constantly be fixing him while you're getting gunned down, so it's useful for that, and you can rack up tons of points. Now for my grenades, I'm using the Argo Impacts, and these are probably the best grenades, and I think everyone knows that by now. And especially for hardcore, there's just instantly kills. Like you'll be getting like 50 kills. Okay, not that much, but you'll be getting tons of kills with these. Just pretty much on impact explodes. And especially when I was playing on hardcore, I get a lot of kills with these just because you throw them at a guy and they just blow up. So really good to use, probably better than the standard grenades you get. So I suggest using these. Now for the knife, I'm using a Bowie knife. And a Bowie knife would not be a Bowie knife if you didn't have a bipod. Always have a bipod on your knife. I cannot tell you how many times this has saved my life and how many kills I've gotten with a bipod on it. So always use a bipod. And in combination with the bipod, I'm using the ballistic scope, which is a time 40 scope. So, you know, that always helps with your knife. You need the added accuracy. You just need to take out people from a distance with your knife, maybe take out a jet. You never know, just use a ballistic scope with your knife and you're pretty much set for life. Field upgrades, I'm using offensive, and these are really good pretty much because you get that added ammo capacity, grenade capacity, and that sprinting bonus. So once you get up to those levels, it's really good for a close quarter setup when you're going to be running around a lot. So offensive's probably the best one to use for this setup. So guys, that's it for this video. Remember to leave all of your requests below. I've been getting tons of them and I'm working on them as hard as I can. And I think I'm going to do the AEK next, but we'll see. So leave your requests below. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys later.